Welcome to Brian Lehrer Live, where web video meets the issues. Tonight, Digital Kenya, how email and text messages are playing a role in the post-election violence. Also tonight, the serious gets funny and vice versa. We'll meet Hasidic comedian Mendy Pellin and hear about comic books that teachers want in class.
My story is about three kids. They go into a haunted school. That it was made at a long time ago, a cemetery, and they went inside. And once they went inside, the door closed, and they started running, and they found some scary creatures.
But first, here are this week's online video picks. It's deja vu for people in Massachusetts watching the Obama campaign. Last year, Democratic gubernatorial candidate Deval Patrick also gave inspiring speeches about hope and post-partisanship, and also had to fend off charges from his opponent that he was running on just words.
But her dismissive point, and I hear it a lot from her staff, is that all I have to offer is words. Just words. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. Just words. Just words. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Just words. I have a dream. Just words.
Don't tell me words don't matter. I have a dream. Just words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Just words. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. Just words. Just speeches.
So the Clinton campaign is using comparison videos like that to accuse Obama of plagiarizing from Governor Patrick, which brings us to our video pick number 2.
When the history of this campaign is written, they may say, well, Bill Clinton took a lot of hits in this campaign. I want you to know something. The hits that I took in this election are nothing compared to the hits that the people of this state and this country are taking every day of their lives under this administration.
You know, the hits I've taken in life are nothing compared to what goes on every single day in the lives of people across our country.
Video pick number 3 from the website inhabitats.com. This is Mary Lou Jepson on her One Laptop Per Child campaign. Turns out it's literacy without litter.
I didn't think that we could be green. I was told early on by major manufacturers that that would cost $30 more, and I thought, $30, we're not going to do it. We're not going to be green. We can't afford it, and we'll just try to do the right thing all along the line. And as a result, by trying to do the right thing and by designing for the poorest people in the world, we've made the greenest laptop that's ever been made, and that's not just the color. So, green. This is a green conference. So how green is the XO? Well, this is half the size and weight, a third the part count. It's repairable. There's, none of the toxic materials, including no mercury. There's an LED backlight, a replaceable LED backlight. When's the last time you've seen a replaceable backlight or even a replaceable light bar on a display? So if everybody replaced their laptop, if you look, there's 230 million PCs deployed in the world right now. We'd save 85 billion kilowatt hours. And even at 10 cents a kilowatt hour, that's enough, just money, not even the carbon, impact or the transportation cost or all of that. That's enough just to buy these for 50 million children in the world.
Again, if you want to see more, we picked that up on inhabitats.com. Video pick number 4 for this week comes from the website gizmodo.com. If you make copies of music or movies, Take note, this is a leaked video of a recording industry official training his spokespeople to link entertainment piracy to drugs and guns.
More often than not, we find that most of the defendants we deal with are recidivist. They have spent time incarcerated on much more serious crimes. We've had situations where there have been robberies, homicide, parolees. As Deborah stated, there are some sayings in certain parts of the jurisdiction when you buy a CD, would you like it with or without? The with is the CD enclosing a piece of crack or whatever the case may be. We continually, in working with law enforcement, find that these locations have everything from handguns to large quantities of narcotics, cocaine, marijuana, to counterfeit money. So it really goes the gamut on what can be found during one of these investigations.
So watch that slippery slope. One day it's sharing a copy of Hairspray, the next you're in the Medellin cartel. And you might be hoping that video pick number 5 would have more to do with reality. No way. It's the results of next November's election, provided by, who else? The Onion.
Moving on. If you planned on following the presidential election in November, you might want to plug your ears. A big election spoiler is coming up. A minor software glitch at the Diebold Corporation today caused thousands of electronic voting machines to accidentally release the results of the 2008 presidential election months ahead of schedule. According to the group of military and corporate leaders that has chosen every American president since Eisenhower, Diebold's mistake marks the first time the nation's leader has been revealed prematurely.
I don't even know if I can enjoy the sham election now that I know who's going to win.
If you can't trust your shadowy overlords to keep it secret, what is the purpose, really, of voting in the puppet democracy?
I'm fine with it. I mean, he was going to get my meaningless vote anyway.
Despite the leak, all of the presidential candidates have so far said they'll continue their campaigns.
Hillary Clinton isn't about to give up just because she lost the election. She'll give up when she's supposed to on Election Day. And she'll act surprised.
And that's our online video picks for this week. This is Brian Lehrer Live, where web video meets the issues. Now another installment in our series, Earth to New York. Tonight, it's Kenya to New York, as we speak with Kenyans in New York about the political crisis there and the Kenyan community here. To begin, here is a report from Al Jazeera's English language service about the role of the internet and text messages in the post-election violence.
SMS text messaging, the latest device that's fueling ethnic violence in Kenya. Alfie is one of millions of Kenyans being bombarded with messages urging him to attack those not from his tribe.
Yeah, it reads, fellow Kenyans, the Kikuyu have stolen our children's future. Hope of removing them through the ballot has been stolen. We must deal with them the way they understand violence. We must terminate them with a heavy price they Rwanda way.
When you received those messages, how did that make you feel?
This text message is quite disturbing, but if you really look at what it means, somebody is trying to say we should make one tribe extinct, because that's what happened in the Rwanda genocide almost.
And it's not just text messages.
Hello?
Well, the internet is also being used to spread fear and suspicion among Kenyans. I received this email just a couple of hours ago, and basically it says that Kikuyus, that's the ethnic community of President Kibaki, are being trained in Uganda to mount a civil war here in Kenya, and that people ought to take up arms to protect themselves.
But it's to show a force amongst the business.
It's a huge worry for the chief executive of Safaricom, Kenya's biggest mobile phone and internet service provider.
As the results came in, and particularly after the results were announced, a lot of hate SMSs started circulating. Many hate SMSs.
He experienced pressure from the Kenyan government to turn off the text messaging service to his 9.5 million customers.
In order to stop hate SMSs, you would have to turn off every SMS. And I think that would be not a very good idea, particularly in a country that is having some trouble. You know, you don't want to suddenly turn off people's means of communication.
And unfortunately, Kenya lacks the technology to filter and block messages containing inflammatory words. Mobile phone service providers won't hand information over to the police as it would break privacy laws, and the government fear a blanket ban on texts and emails will send the country into further panic.
Hello?
People like Alfie fear the spread of hate messages is serving only to further the violence and worse, divide the Kenyan people.
They pushed the opening date indefinitely.
Yvonne Dege, Al Jazeera, Nairobi, Kenya.
That report from AlJazeera.net. We'll speak live to two local Kenyans in a minute, but first, one of our producers was able to catch up with the chairman of Kenya's National Commission on Human Rights, Maina Kiai. He was in town to deliver a speech at Columbia University. We asked him about the role that ethnicity plays in the current political crisis.
You know, a poor Kikuyu is as badly off as a poor Luo. And the violence that's going on is among the poor, it's not among the rich. So for me, it's not, ethnicity is an issue, but I don't think that people wake up one day and say, I'm a poor Luo, like, I'm a poor Kalenjin, I'm a poor Kamba, I'm going to kill somebody who's poor like me. I don't think that's the case. And partly it's also a response to the international attention, the way the international media has been playing up this thing. And it's only in Africa, you see, every time there's a crisis, tribal warfare, you know, hey, like we are primal atavistic communities who just like killing for the sake of killing. You know, our politics is organized ethnically. So if you're a poor Luo or rich Luo, you will support Raila Odinga, and if you're poor Kalenjin or rich Kalenjin, generally supported Raila Odinga. So, but it's not based upon issues per se, but upon the ethnic coalition through the leadership who's able to marshal, and Mwai Kibaki the same way. So for me, it's not an appropriate issue to play up. I think it's real. We can't run away from it, that it does exist, that there is some bit of tensions because of our history, because of the divide and rule aspects I mentioned about the colonial rule. The peasants, the poor, are the poor wherever they are. They're bearing the brunt of all this thing, no matter what ethnic community they come from. And that the solution really is not highlighting these things and say, oh, these tribes don't like each other, these ethnic groups don't like each other. That's not the issue. The issue is a political issue. It's about people feeling that their choice was not respected, that their right to vote was not respected, and they saw it.
The chairman of Kenya's National Commission on Human Rights, Maina Kiai. With us now, Korubo Osoro. She was a reporter in Kenya, but now lives in New Jersey and publishes a magazine serving the Kenyan diaspora here. Also with us, Jacqueline Oluok, a senior at NYU who recently organized a fundraiser for her fellow Kenyans. Welcome both of you to the program. Thanks very much for coming in. Jacqueline, do you think that the Kenyan communities in the New York, New Jersey area are engaged with what's going on back home?
Yes, I think that they're very much engaged with their families and their friends.
You got people in the NYU community together to talk about this?
Yes, me and a couple of NYU alumni, mostly from the Wagner School of Public Administration, the Graduate School of Public Administration.
And what happened? I'm sure everybody on all sides was very sad about what's going on. What else did people feel?
People were concerned. People really wanted to get the real story, because when they had one-on-one conversations with us, they felt that the stories that were in the press were different from what we were telling them.
Like what?
Mostly the press had these young men, machete-wielding young men, and everyone would ask you if you're Luo or you're Kikuyu and make their own conclusions. But when we talked to them, we brought about the dimension that it was a political problem, it was about economic development, it was about our country going down because of institutions that don't work.
Institutions that don't work, rather than ethnic groups just hating each other because they're different.
Yes.
Same thing Mr. Kiai was saying, really, in that clip. What do you think about the role of ethnicity in the trouble and the way that's being reported in the United States?
You know, I think I've always been of the opinion that ethnicity is not a Kenyan problem, and it's not exclusively an African problem. Ethnicity is a human problem. There's always, we like to celebrate, we don't celebrate our differences. We attack each other instead. So it takes a different variation in every country, in every region, in every community, even in an individual setting. So I think that this was a class war. This was not an ethnic war.
Class war.
Yes.
But he was talking about how it's the poor from one group on the poor from the other group that's part of the tragedy of it, but that's where the issue is, which sounds like something other than a class war.
Well, that's because the poor people don't really understand that it's not your poor neighbor that's the problem. It's the institutions that we have and the leaders that we have that are not creating institutions that work for us. I just think that people, a lot of people like the middle class understand what's going on. That's why they're not out on the streets killing people. There are a lot of people that gave protection to other people that were almost attacked, and they were from the same communities that were killing other people. So it's not an ethnic issue. In 2002, Kenyans, all the tribes in Kenya, about 43 tribes, came together and got rid of Moi's KANU. And I like to compare that to a marriage. So I think that the 43 tribes got married, and this is the first trial the marriage is going through. So whether this marriage survives or we get a divorce is really up to Kenyans. It's not even about the leaders anymore. But Kenyans are peace-loving people, and I'm sure, you know, the marriage is going to work.
Have you met before tonight?
No.
No. Are you from the same ethnic groups? Have you even compared that?
No.
What do you think?
It's interesting that you ask that, because every time Kenyans meet, the first question is, so where are you from? What tribe are you? And I don't like that, and I don't encourage it. If you're a Kenyan, I'm a Kenyan, you know. Like one guy, David Colbia, who had, was like a networking site for Kenyans called Mashada. It became so, the users of the site was spewing so much hatred that he decided to change it to I have no tribe, I am a Kenyan. So I think that it's not that important anymore.
Is it like that at NYU among the Kenyans?
Pardon?
Is it like that at NYU among the Kenyans? I have no tribe?
Yeah, we've been getting on together really well because we have shared experiences that we bolster around rather than tribes. So, and we have shared backgrounds. You know, you find somebody in New York whom you were in high school with, or somebody you went to primary school, and the schools are very integrated. So people are really together.
Let's turn again to Miani Kiai, who chairs the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights. We asked him how technology had changed the Kenyan political scene since a similar election 10 years ago.
We saw in this election, we saw theft happening in front of our eyes, live television. We were able now through text messaging to get reports as they were coming in from the constituencies to Nairobi, to the central station, the central counting station. We were able to get them as they came. And that's what separates. People were able to say, but you know, it was announced in a certain place 100 miles away. It was announced that Mwai Kibaki got 50,000 votes. Why are they announcing 75,000 votes in Nairobi? What happened? And when the questions were raised, the inability of the Electoral Commission, which is charged with running elections, the inability of that Electoral Commission to answer those questions created discontent and anger and frustration. So really technology has played a big role. I mean, it's not the first time elections have been stolen in Kenya. In 1992, 1997, Daniel Arap Moi stole elections, but we weren't seeing it. It was done in the cover of darkness. There was only one television station, which was the state broadcasting. But now there's 5, 6, 7 television stations. There are radio stations, FM stations across the country, 40, 50 of them. There's email, there's texting, there's satellite phones. People are able to send information. So it's so much harder to steal the same way it was done 10 years ago. And that's where the crisis started, that Mwai Kibaki and his people tried to steal the election the same way Moi did 10 years ago. But they didn't account for the real changes that have happened technologically, to people's empowerment, people's sense of accountability that wasn't there before in the 90s.
And we thank producer Derek Tuchulti for conducting and shooting that interview. You know, it's interesting, Karuba, we've now seen videos, the one from Al Jazeera, showing how text messaging and the internet are used to help fuel the violence. Mm-hmm. And here, Mr. Kiai talking about how technology has lifted the veil off people's eyes. Compared to the election that was stolen 10 years ago and nobody could tell, now people were able to tell. So there's the good and the bad of technology right now.
Yeah, obviously there's the good and the bad, but hopefully we use the good more than the bad. And I think a lot of Kenyans are smart enough to kind of filter, filter everything that's coming through. I think I read somewhere that during the campaign period that Raila was involved in an accident. And when I looked at all the media, there was no report on that. So there's a lot of rumors coming through. There's a lot of hate messages. Even here, I was shocked to hear that a couple of people were sending around emails and text messages telling people to kill every Kikuyu that they come across. I mean, it's a waste of technology. I think that we can use that in a better way, but it's true that it has its ups and downs. And
your reaction to these uses of technology?
On the flip side, I'd say that they've also been used positively, because when we were trying to organize our fundraiser, the NYU students and alumni, we sent out messages through several listservs that went through and went even to people in Kenya who invited their relatives back in New York and New Jersey. And we also used Facebook, and we also went to Kenyan bloggers. There's quite a number of Kenyan bloggers, and they posted our initiative there, and we got a very good response from that. So they've also been used positively. Additionally, when the media blackout was there between 28th, I got a lot of my information from one of the bloggers who was very reliable and kept on posting
So let's go back to Miani Kiai one more time, because in this clip from our interview, he talks about the importance of bloggers in the diaspora.
What really hit me is the Kenyan diaspora, maybe within this region of New York, is keen to do something positive. And they've been doing fundraisers. They're asking how can they get involved, how can they move the processes forward, how can they begin supporting civil society, and in a way they've never done before, how can they get engaged. And that's one of our strengths in Kenya, is this diaspora that's out here, that's in UK, that's in Europe, that's in South Africa, it's in Australia, it's across the world. Technology has been used both positively and negatively. Positively in terms of passing messages that have been good. Negatively in terms of the same way, passing messages that are negative and are destructive. Rumors have been passed through texts. Bloggers have been insulting each other in a way I have never seen before. The level of expression of discontent and hatred and frustrations on the blogs, especially within the diaspora of Kenyans that don't live in Kenya, has been amazing. And and maybe it's good, and both good and bad, that we all need a place to vent. And and when you vent electronically, maybe you don't hurt people, although sometimes it does hurt people when there are untruths there. What all this thing tells me is that we really have to find ventilation spots. People need to vent, get this out, and then they can start a conversation that makes sense.
Again, Maina Kiai, the chairman of Kenya's Human Rights Commission. Does that hit home for you, the importance of the diaspora in what's going on in Kenya?
Oh yes, it really hits home. I mean, we live in America or in Europe for other Kenyans, and we love America. I mean, this is home for us. But truly, our moods in America are affected by what's going on back home, because we have families there, people have investments there, people have friends, people have all sorts of connections in Kenya, and it's home, whether you have people there or not. And bloggers have been very, very, very helpful, especially, like Jackie said, during the blackout, the media blackout. We all wanted to know what was happening. Our families didn't know what was happening. We were picking up news from the BBC, from CNN, and some of it is biased, and we wanted to hear it from people that were back home. But having said that, I also agree with Maina when he says that it's been used also to kind of show what was under the surface. People are bringing out their emotions. People are telling a lot of things they would never have said before, especially during Moi's era. So Kibaki's 5 years were great, but now we're seeing Kenyans that are more expressive rather than oppressed as they were
This
before.
is the effect that the internet is having all over the world, including in this country. And this is why some authoritarian regimes try to completely suppress the internet, because they're afraid of the power of the individual to express dissent. Some people are comparing what we saw in the Al Jazeera report, the use of the text messaging and the web to fuel the violence, to the way radio was used in Rwanda during the genocide there in the 90s. But the internet and these text messages are not just in the hands of the leaders, they are in the hands of individuals. And I wonder if you've seen any evidence of individuals also trying to use technology to chill people out and stop the violence.
Oh yes, there's a lot of peace initiatives also in the blog spots, in the social networking sites. People have come together and formed peace groups, Kenyans for Peace. There are a multitude of them. So people are channeling people, asking other people to come out and help contribute to peace initiatives. If you have a project, there's where to go, both in Kenya and both in the US. So a lot of information sharing is happening on peace efforts.
Are women's, go ahead, you wanted to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say that we also have a lot of peace songs on YouTube. So, you know, there's a lot of good stuff going on, and we're together in this. You know, we're one nation, we're one people. We're not carrying the ethnic differences from Kenya to the diaspora. A few people try to, but it's not going to work.
Are women's issues an important thing in Kenyan politics right now?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
How so?
In fact, like our fundraiser is specifically targeted towards women who are victims of violence, because we saw that in the many efforts, a lot of times women are sidelined and there's just one women's hospital. But there's this organization called Urgent Action Fund, which is going right into the slums and into the centers of the crisis and setting up crisis centers. So we are supporting them specifically so that they can give post-exposure prophylaxis for people who've been raped, and support and counseling, because the number of rapes went up dramatically.
Where do Kenyans live in the New York area? You go to NYU, you live in New Jersey. Is there a sort of little Nairobi anywhere?
Oh yes, there's a little Nairobi in Jersey City. There's one in Patterson. There's one in the Princeton area. So it kind of depends on who came first and who did they invite to come over. So it's like little families scattered all over.
Where else?
New York, I wouldn't say so. I mean, there are people in Harlem, there are people in the Bronx, there are people in Brooklyn. New York is more scattered, and we didn't know how many we were until we had the fundraiser, and we were like, wow, there's so many Kenyans.
It took this trouble to bring people together.
Yeah, sort of, because there's no exact forum in New York. New Jersey is a little bit different, you know. Like we go to New Jersey to party sometimes, and we get an established community.
Wait,
there.
people from Manhattan go to New Jersey to party?
Yes,
I don't get
New
this.
Jersey is a party joint for
It's a party joint. We go to eat nyama choma, meat, you know, catch up with people. But
what's yama choma?
Roast
barbecue,
meat.
yeah.
Barbecue?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Jersey City has about 4,000 Kenyans, believe it or not. And it's a small city. When you think about 4,000 people, that's a lot of people. And I used to live in Bayonne, and I attended every funeral, every wedding, every community activity, and this was like every weekend. So it's a very active community.
Are there certain jobs, professions that Kenyan immigrants to the New York area tend to be in?
I wouldn't say so, but I'm seeing a lot from my school. A lot of us go into public service, and a lot of the graduates work in city government. And the Kenyans we've met, some of them are in investment banking. So in New York, it depends on the kinds of professional jobs that are available, but a lot of people are professionals. Like we come here for graduate degrees at that level, so we access opportunities at that level.
With the intent to go back there and work, or stay here, or some and some?
A lot of us have the romantic idea to go back to Kenya, and things were really looking good before the election. So I know a lot of people packed their bags and said, I'm going back to Kenya. A lot of people wanted to get into politics because, as you know, they also raised the salaries. So a Kenyan parliamentarian makes about as much as an American senator. So a lot of people were thinking, wow, Kenya is the place to be now. So, but I think that it's a romantic notion for a lot of people, because you come here, you get into the system, and then you want to work and save money, and you know you have children, you get married. So
it's true for immigrants
changes
from
the
all
dynamics.
over the world who come with the dream of going back.
Yeah.
And then they develop ties. So just tell me real quick before you go. You mentioned one popular Kenyan dish. What's another one?
Ugali.
Which is?
Ugali is a maize meal paste that is made I don't know how to describe it.
Is there a
It's
Kenyan?
made from cornmeal.
Go ahead. What?
Yeah, it's made from cornmeal. Yeah, it's not the most. It doesn't have a lot of zing to it, but it's
got
it's a
texture.
Kenyan thing. It has texture.
Is there a Kenyan restaurant in the area you'd recommend non-Kenyans to check out?
No, there was a Kenyan restaurant in Jersey by Rutgers, but I think it closed. So we do Ethiopian. It's closer to Kenya, yeah.
But there's one in D.C. There's one in Washington,
yeah.
D.C. that I've heard about very much.
Barack Obama, Kenyan roots. A big deal in the community?
Yes.
Yes, I think a lot of Kenyans are, for Obama, and I think I'm the only one that's not, maybe. But
And who are you for now that you're willing to declare? You're a Clinton supporter?
Yes, I am. I just think that she's come a long way. I think she has what it takes. I think Obama is great, but
People in Kenya following this too?
Oh yes. We have a Barack Obama beer. I heard. It's called
Barack Obama beer.
Yeah, it's called Senator beer, and
Senator beer.
yeah, so it's pretty interesting.
He didn't brew it, but it's in his honor.
Yes. There's a lot of schools after Barack's name, so.
Yeah, a lot of
All right,
schools.
so I can see now a whole other thing starting on the web. If there's a Barack Obama beer, what's the John McCain drink and the Hillary drink? We'll have to leave that for another day. It's been great to meet both of you. Thank you so much for coming
Thanks
in.
for having us.
Thank you for talking to us.
This is Brian Lehrer Live, where web video meets the issues. You know that graphic novels are very in, from Mouse to Persepolis. Look at this from the Columbia Teachers College. Kids creating comics as a learning tool.
You get to express your feelings on why you draw. You get to color your pictures, and you get to show other people, like if they have trouble, like writing stuff or like drawing, you can help them a little bit.
Maybe when I grow up, I'll be a publisher.
In the Comic Book Project, we write, design, and publish original comic books. We express ourselves through our voices, our interests, and our medium.
The comic book is a place like where you gotta learn how to just draw and express yourself and just have fun and let yourself be creative. You don't have to be a good drawer to be in this club. Like all you gotta do is be you gotta have a big imagination, and then you're just good to go.
The Comic Book Project is about teamwork. We work together to develop a plan and then put the plan into effect.
My name is Carlos.
My name is Brian.
My name is Miguel.
I'm drawing.
He's
revising, and he's coloring.
The process starts with thinking about our characters and storylines. Then we write.
The story I have is about a superhero. Her name is Diana Lopez.
We write.
The two characters named are Ghetto Boy and JJ.
And we write.
And we started thinking of how it would be great to do a comic book about warriors that from another world.
But of course, the Comic Book Project is also about making art.
That was from a documentary short about the Comic Book Project, a new program from the Columbia Teachers College that aims to get kids involved in learning by creating comic books. And we are joined now by two proponents of this new approach, Michael Bitz, the founder and director of the Comic Book Project, and Françoise Mouly, the editorial director of Toons Books and the art editor at The New Yorker magazine. Welcome, both of you. Thank you so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure to be here.
People can see that you have an array of books in
Yes.
front of you. Show us one. What did you bring us?
This is a new series of actually hardcover.
Let's see. Can you shoot
comic
that from
books.
there, or should I hold it up?
Hardcover comic
You
books
got it there?
for
Okay,
very
I'm sorry.
young children
Benny
who are
and
just
Penny.
entering school.
Comic books for very young children just entering school. Benny and Penny in Just Pretend, Silly Lily, and the Four Seasons.
Well, you're a wonderful advocate, Brian. Thank you. And the reason this is such a revolutionary idea is not that kids like comics, that we all know. Intuitively, we do know that, but they have not been exposed to comics at that age, at that moment, where they enter school, where they are supposed to learn to read.
How different is this from, you know, an old style, even really old Dick and Jane kind of book? Wow, I see lots of things at the beach. I see rocks, I see fish, see Spot run, and there's the picture of the girl in the beach. Right.
No, it's a very good question, because the vocabulary is appropriate for a child who doesn't have that many sight words and is just entering into this, but the story is told visually. And See Dick Run is not, it's usually illustrated, but illustrating a phrase, a sentence, is very different than visual storytelling.
And what we just saw in that video was kids writing their own comic books. That's central to what you do, correct?
Right. The idea behind the comic book project is not just to engage in the medium, which I think is very important, just like Francoise is saying, but then to reflect on it, create their own, share their ideas with other children, share their ideas and storylines with their communities, and be creative and have some fun with writing, which is not often happens in school all the time.
So is the point to engage kids in literature and move from the comic book form to other things, or is it just to convey the information or get them creative in this form and it's kind of separate but equal?
I think it's both. It's the idea of thinking about a comic book or a sequential visual narrative as a piece of literature, just like poetry or prose or fiction, but then also to make a bridge to traditional literacy, to a book that's written with paragraphs. The children who are engaging in the comic book project and books like Francoise is publishing, they are reading, they are writing, they are thinking about punctuation, they're thinking about grammar, and as their thought processes go on, they're going to be thinking about storylines and characters and everything that goes into a book, whether it be a comic book or a paragraph book.
So this line of books that you're publishing, Toon books, the ones we just saw, are examples, and they look like for very young first-time readers, maybe 5 years old, 4 years old, something.
Well, actually, first grade, around first grade, kindergarten, second grade.
5, 6. Also, for older kids, are there various levels in the line?
There's actually more comic books for the 8 to 12. That's a prime comic book age. So there are some good kid comics that already exist. It just wasn't anything for the very young kid. And
so that's what's new in this line.
What the realization came to me when our son was around that stage of his development, and this is a kid that had grown up surrounded by comic books. My husband is a cartoonist, and as he said, he sacrificed his comic book collection.
Can we say your husband is Art Spiegelman, who wrote
Mouse and other things?
Yes,
yes. And certainly Art and I have been advocates for many years of the fact that comics are not just for kids anymore. But I actually I had a first-hand experience of the fact that comics must be for kids, and there's not that many, because when my son was learning to read, very bright kids, doesn't have any kind of learning deficiency, but it took a long time, and I had to read to him every night. And because Art read to him in English, he had his pick of all the literature and all the comics, and I read in French because I speak French to my kids, and the only thing that sustained us through the months of nightly reading was once we started reading the comics. Why? Because there's something in it for him. Because when we are sitting down, there's that pleasurable moment of listening to the story, but there's also something to look at.
You also brought some visual aids?
Right. Well, I brought some comic books created by children. I took ones from New York City. This was created by a group of middle schoolers at IS 349 in Brooklyn, and I think it represents just how dynamic some of the children's artwork and writing and comic books really are. Is actually quite extraordinary.
The drawing is great.
The drawing is amazing. But the point to make is that most of the comics that kids create in the comic book project are very simply designed. This was created by 2 fifth graders in the Bronx. It's about...
Did I see the title is Bronx Side Story?
It's Bronx Side Story. It's how the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans in Dominicanville are not getting along, and Global Man flies down, and I love how these little egg-like figures are represented by their flags. Global Man flies down and lets them know that the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico are so similar in terms of their culture and their food. And then the two characters realize, wow, we are the same. We can be friends, and they become friends in the end. And Global Man flies off to save another community. I think it just represents.
Global Man is green.
Global Man is green. You might think of it as an environmental comic book, but it's really a cultural comic book. And I think it's quite amazing for young people, 5th, 6th graders, to be thinking about these issues that may be happening in their neighborhoods, and have an opportunity to reflect on it and say something about it. And share something about who you are and where you live. Something like this probably wouldn't be created in Flushing or in Flatbush, but it's an issue in the Bronx, and these kids were able to express that.
Do you think, though, that we live in such a visual age that something like this is maybe more necessary than it once was to get kids engaged in writing? Because I think typically a teacher would say, well, okay, let's take the issues of your community, and maybe it's the same themes that are expressed in Bronx Side Story, but just write them. And it doesn't occur to everybody to think visually in addition. Do you think it's more necessary now because we live in the age of video?
I'm not so sure that it's more necessary. I mean, the idea of comics in education is something that's been around since the 40s. So what comes around goes around. I think that the need has always been the idea for children to think creatively. And for me, the comic books that children create really are a means to an end of creative thinking and critical thinking. Some may not look like they are professional comics, but it's the idea that's behind them. And I think it is important to engage children in writing. But there are other modes and media and literacies out there, including visual literacy, including technical literacy, media literacy, web literacy, and all those things should be part of the classroom experience.
Would they do?
Sorry, I actually, for the first time, found something to slightly disagree with you. I think it's actually essential now. Essential, not just a nice add-on or one more thing, but I believe, I mean, from my own experience, my kids are way overprivileged in terms of the amount of print and material, but it's clear to see them grow up and become literate and avid readers that is not going to happen without exposure, and exposure to something that they can like, and that too many publishers and too many media moguls have somehow surrendered their responsibility to video games and cell phone jingles and God knows what, but that there is an age, and it is uncannily the one where they enter school where kids love books.
So are you marketing these books to schools as educational tools per se, or just through bookstores and thinking that they're good for kids in
anything
early literacy?
That works. So, yeah. I mean, whoever wants them. And right now, it's interesting because we're about to come out with the full line. The spring 08 is our launch. The response from librarians on one hand and from teachers and educators has been overwhelming.
Really? Because that's what I was going to ask next. Mm-hmm. Is there resistance? Because people in the educational establishment look at these and say, oh, they're comic books.
Well, there's absolutely there is resistance. There's a paradoxical situation where everybody is aware of the responsibilities that you have when you deal with children, and it's not the same. And we also can't go out and say all comics are good, because, and also all comics are great for kids, because there's a lot, especially in the past, 20, 30 years, graphic novels and whatever that has opened up that is not appropriate for children. But the difference in the resistance from the educators is that in some ways they are in contact with the kids. So there is an avant-garde, there's a small strata of really very committed educators who are with kids every day, and seeing is believing. They see the kids delving into this and reading it. And
so before you go, you're with Teachers College. How do you measure success? Because that's your job, is to develop academic curricula and then measure success, correct?
Well, what we can do is, in the context of the comic book project, we can look at all the things that children are doing, the manuscript writing, the interaction between partners in a team, and we're able to correlate all of those things with for example, the New York State learning standards in English language arts. Children are reading, writing, listening, and speaking for information and understanding, for social interaction, for critical analysis. All those things are happening within the process of creating a comic book, and the amount of writing that they do in that process is extraordinary, the quality and the quantity. So we're able to track the children's progress in the context of the standards. You can make your own decisions about whether the standardized tests measure those standards. That's another discussion. The standards themselves are incredibly powerful and incredibly rich, and the Comic Book Project is helping kids meet that.
Do they do this in France?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't have felt the same urgent need because actually this is a French author. Most other cultures, be it France or Japan, are not as puritanically anti-visual as the U.S. There's something here where...
That thinks pictures are dirty.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much for coming in. Good luck with the project and
Thank
with the
you.
books. This is Brian Lehrer Live, where web video meets the issues. Coming up in a minute, a Hasidic comedian. Is Hasidic humor an oxymoron? Stay with us.
This is CUNY TV, the City University of New York.
Watch Canapé, the French cultural magazine show, Thursdays on CUNY TV.
Mama was queen of the mambo, Papa was king of the Congo. Deep down in the jungle, I start banging my first bongo. Every monkey like to be in my place instead of me, 'cause I'm the king of bongo, baby, I'm the king of bongo bong. I went to the big town where there is a lot of sound, from the jungle to the city looking for a bigger crown. So I play my boogie for the people of big city, but they don't go crazy when I'm banging on my boogie. I'm the king of the bongo, king of the bongo bong. Hear me when I come, baby. King of the bongo, king of the bongo bong. Nobody like to be in my place instead of me, 'cause nobody go crazy when I'm banging on my boogie. I'm a king without a crown, hanging loose in a big town, but I'm a king of bongo, baby, I'm the king of bongo bong.
Well, who says Hasidim can't be funny? In a minute, we will meet Hasidic comedian Mendy Pellin live in our studio. But first, here's a sample of his work from his website. It's not YouTube, it's chabadtube.com.
Hey there, welcome to the third season of the Mendy Report, celebrating our first anniversary. Thank you for having us in your living room, or kitchen, or office, or next to your house, taking some Wi-Fi from your neighbor. I don't know if that's kosher, but let's get straight to it. Take a look at what's coming up in this episode. A local celebrity wedding, Ehud Barak, Obama, an important shul health advisory. All that, your emails, and much more.
I think the same.
The schnauzle stops here.
What it means.
So is this kind of humor kosher?
Yes, it's definitely kosher, according to me.
According to you?
Yeah.
And you're the creator of your standards.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, we have our standards, and in comedy, you're right on the edge, so it's kind of like a balancing act. You have big supporters, and I also have like a anti-Pellin blog and a whole...
There's an anti-Pellin blog?
Yes, yes. We got a whole world that's against me that wants to...
Yeah, why? Who wants to?
Well, they're all anonymous, But when you're dealing with humor, you know, people ask, is he allowed to say that? Is that okay to do that? You know, like everything I do is analyzed, and basically a lot of productivity at work is being lost because of me, so people are upset about that.
That's a big problem with the internet and internet humor everywhere. Now, Hasidic is a big category. You're Lubavitch?
Yes, Lubavitch.
And the press that Lubavitch generally get to everyone else is this very hyper-serious community.
Right. Well, take like Williamsburg, Borough Park, and Crown Heights. That's the biggest Hasidic, you know, funny-looking people communities with the beards and the payas. But in Williamsburg and Borough Park, it's more, they live in more like a sheltered environment, while in Crown Heights, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said we should use technology such as the, you know, internet, TV, use it to make the world a better, happier place.
Mm-hmm.
So
what makes people happier than comedy?
Exactly. We got to lighten up, not take ourselves too seriously. And
but
yeah.
Your tagline, we saw it in the video, is "The Schnauzle stops here."
Yeah, the Schnauzle.
What means?
The Schnauzle stops here. You got a little sound
you got a
effect there.
Schnauzle mug.
I got a Schnauzle mug. I bring it wherever I go.
You triggered that soundbite?
No, but it worked out really well.
That's your phone, your cell phone?
Yeah, that's just an alarm, and it's off. My phone's off.
Your phone's off.
Yeah.
Judith Nathan is not calling you.
No.
Okay. But I understand that you endorsed Rudy Giuliani a day before he conceded his bid.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Well, I knew that he, you know, his whole strategy was not working out. He wasn't really campaigning. He was waiting, putting all his eggs in one basket. So I think that he did a lot for our community, and I wanted to like show him that we appreciate it.
Symbolically.
So, yeah,
Even as you were showing him the door, you were showing him your appreciation.
I was saying goodbye, we'll miss you, but you know, we really appreciate what
Not a lot of comedians endorse.
Right.
Have you now gone on to John McCain?
I've gotten a lot of flack for this. I usually stay away from I mean, I'm in politics, and my mother, by the way, before I came on this show, said, Mendy, don't talk about religion or politics. That's what she said.
So, which means you don't say anything.
So I can't say anything right now.
Or culture.
Or culture. We can talk about culture. But I don't get into politics as in like taking a stance. I'll make a joke out of something with satire. But Rudy, I grew up in Crown Heights, I grew up in New York, and I saw how he transformed the city and really helped us. And I wanted to say thank you. And also, there's a lot of inside jokes in that commercial. There's a lot of material, like a lot of local inside jokes. So it's very humorous for the Crown Heights community.
Like what? Is there one that you can share with outsiders?
Like, for example, it says many landmarks were closed. And I showed the mikvah, the ritual bathhouse. Has nothing to do with him, you know. A restaurant. I said restaurants closed after 9/11. That restaurant just wasn't working out and shut down. New owners are coming, you know. So it's like there's a guy in the main synagogue that's known to sleep on the front bench. So I said homelessness has grown, you know, in our country. So, you know.
Now, here, you know, you're practically home. But I heard that you went on Leno. Is that right?
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, Leno is probably the biggest mensch I've ever met in Hollywood.
Really?
Yes. He's a really, really nice guy.
Does he get Lubavitch?
Yeah, I think he gets it. I think he's like a fellow Lubavitcher. I was dancing with him. We farbranged. We had a little gathering the day before. We hung out for a half hour just schmoozing.
He hangs out with his guests before? You did like a rehearsal hangout?
I don't know if he does it normally with the whole writer's strike. I'm sure you were affected greatly by the writer's strike.
Oh, yes. I have a whole team of writers out there, right there. And you saw the 3x5 green room that we had.
But, you know, I think it was a lot more hands-on with his show. And, yeah, he's a great guy. And
so mainstream America seems intrigued with Mendy Pellin.
Yeah.
Now, somebody told me that you were running after our previous two guests, the Kenyan Americans. What was that about? I didn't see it out there.
Well, actually, she was on high heels, so I figured this is my opportunity to beat a Kenyan in a race.
Ah.
So if I could beat a Kenyan in a race, that's the biggest achievement you could have gained physically. So I tried to race her, but she won even on high heels.
26 miles though for the marathon.
I don't know. The Kenyans could run. They could go. They could go.
What's that pin you're wearing?
Oh, this is right now on the Jewish calendar is Adar, so it's the happy month on the Jewish calendar. So actually, I have one for you there.
Are you giving me an
There
Adar
you go.
pin?
So it's the dancing rabbi. It's known on the Chabad telethon, and I wear it all year round because for me it's Purim every day. Every day for me is Purim. I like to joke around, not take life too seriously,
And who are you trying to reach? Other Lubavitch Hasids, or are you trying to bring in other Jews to the movement through this, or is it kind of not that, not that Machiavellian?
Well, we don't have like a big think tank and trying to figure out what this is gonna do to our image. You know, if he moves his eyebrow like that or whatever he does. But
because I get mail, I mean, just people, in the Lubavitcher community who know that I'm Jewish, they send me email all the time inviting me to this and that. There's a lot of kind of internal Jewish recruiting,
right,
with your group.
Yes. We're here for our Hasidic sect. Chabad is here for everyone else. That's what we do. So, has anyone ever come over to you on the street and say, "Excuse me, sir, you Jewish?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's us.
That's you guys.
That's us. It's like we're a certain club, like we work for the CIA, and it's like, hey, are you an agent? Come on board here. We'll wrap you up. We'll debrief you. stuff like that.
So it's mendypellin.com.
So mendypellin.com.
And we have 20 seconds. What do you have coming up?
Coming up, we have a lot of different things. We have the behind the scenes of Leno. That's a lot of fun. Meeting all the producers, meeting Leno candidly. We have you could see.
I see you had a camera person with you. You're going to do behind the scenes at Brian Lehrer Live?
I think we have to. My wife's here.
It's got to be at least as much fun as Leno.
It's more fun. Come on, the guys here are great. I love it.
Thanks a lot, Mendy.
Thank you very much
Good
for
luck.
having me.
And that's it for tonight's show. We're here live Wednesday nights at 7:30. You can sign up for our free podcast and see the show's blog at CUNY.TV. And please tune in to my daily radio show, The Brian Lehrer Show, weekday mornings at 10 on WNYC. Tomorrow morning, MTA Chief Lee Sander on how they plan to spend your congestion pricing money. That's at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning on 93.9 FM and AM 820 WNYC. Have a great night.